Welcome to Conversations with Malik podcast, coming to you from Long Island, New York. I'm glad to have you and thank you all who are listening and watching this show. This podcast is about the stories of transformation of regular people during the basic struggle and pain of life. Everybody has a testimony. We all have survived the darkness. Now let's talk about how we got to the light so we can help our brothers and sisters who still haven't overcome their demons. But guess what?
Talk to me.
We all have devils on different levels. So through conversations, we use the tools of insight to light the path of hope.
Right.
Let's have a chat and stop running from our issues. If we live through it, then talking about it probably won't kill us. And that's what we're doing here. We're talking, we're crying, we're laughing and joking. But we're looking inwards so we can grow outwards, the theme of this show.
That's right.
The caterpillar transforming into the butterfly is the goal and purpose of this podcast. When you talk about you, I learn about me. Iron sharpens iron.
Steel sharpens steel.
So we can cut through the fog of despair into the hope of today. And listen, welcome to Conversations with Malik. And please, before we start today's show, don't forget to follow us at convoswithmalik.com, convoswithmalik.com. We, Conversations with Malik, Facebook page.
That's right.
Apple, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. Thank you for all the support that we've been getting on YouTube lately, the YouTube page. It's really growing. Thank you to Justin Mars, social media guru who does an excellent job with our website. Kareem the Dream Raheem, audio engineer, who just, make sure our sound right. But I want to go back to Justin. Thanks a lot, Justin, because you've been on social media. You've been promoting the YouTube, and as a result, the views have been going up. And, just thank you to everybody who listens and supports. Listen, like us, subscribe.
Share us, love us.
Share us, love us. Because this is all about positivity. We want to carry the positive message, and we want people to be, enriched.
In tune with the movement,
Basically. And so listen, I'm here today with Reverend Kymberley Clemons-Jones from the Wanted Project, right? And it's funny, me and her was talking before. First of all, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
And thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm always honored whenever I can have a guest on this show. I really don't take that for granted, so thank you for coming. And we were talking before about how the Wanted Project did sound familiar, but I've been speaking to so many people about shows and things like that. But we know somebody in common
We do.
I guess was trying to make the connection before.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
she knows what we do at the Wanted Project, and she knew that you were a positive person. Mm-hmm. And so she says, I'm going to get you in touch with Malik. And here we are through Sharon. through another
Sharon,
person.
Through Sharon.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
And shout out to Sharon. She's the bomb, Diggy Bomb.
Yes.
The dang Diggy. And she brings up some excellent guests. And if you're looking for a PR person, you might want to hit her up.
That's right.
She's the one that makes it happen. Mm-hmm. And so talk to me about, so what we're going to do is we're going to start current with what you're doing now. We're going to go back, and then we're going to come back current.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Talk to me about the Wanted Project.
So staying current, we are about to have a conference on this Saturday.
Yes.
From 8 to 5 a.m.
Right.
We're bringing in speakers, 3 speakers to do workshops for adults, and then 3 speakers to do youth workshops.
Right.
So the Wanted Project is a young men's mentoring program, ages 12 to 18. And we tell them that they are worthy, accountable,
yes,
named, thankful, empowered, and determined.
Wow.
Instead of what the world tells them.
Yes.
Right? You get the picture in the post office with our brown and black boys' face, there. We want to tell them a different story.
Yes, we do.
So Saturday, we're going to tell them that story. We're also going to have a panel discussion about mental health and how to help our young men of color, just thrive.
Yeah, and first of all, just to kind of break the narrative, I know a lot of great young children. Most of them are doing the right thing.
Yes.
So it's easy when you see, for instance, this young this young man, and who knows what. See, the thing is, who knows what he's gonna grow up to be?
That's
but let me
right.
tell you what he did.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure people looked at me at 16 and 17. It was like,
That's right.
it was like, listen, this kid. But I turned out okay, right?
Absolutely.
So, some people's journey to heaven is through hell, and some of them turn out to be, you know, more devoted than the ones that were always doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
You know,
They
and
have
not
a
to take,
story to tell.
yeah,
Yeah.
and not to take any credit from people who just naturally did the right thing. So this young man was walking, and he literally threw the rest of his chicken wings and fries. He was about 10 yards from the garbage can. Jeff, right on Merrick. And he was holding it in his hand, and he just said, I'm finished.
That's it.
And we were all like, oh! Everybody was like, and so one of the ladies looked at me because they know my presence in the community, and I said, I'll clean it up. And I just said a prayer for him.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
But, so all of the kids aren't like that. Why? Because I have good kids here in my house. My kids are good kids. I'm around and exposed to a lot of great kids. Some of them stop in my office and talk to me about business. And then there's outlets like, you know, there's outlets, like for instance, if you read Black Enterprise magazine, you will see some of the stuff these young brothers and sisters are doing.
I just
that
met a
are
young girl
entrepreneurs.
today, this morning, on another show. She was amazing.
Wow.
21 years old, has her own business, talking about was makeup for cancer survivors.
Wow.
She was serious.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. She's gonna blow up.
She sure is. That's a good, because and there's a market for that.
Yes.
Wow, I never even, see?
It's different.
See, that's what we talk about, killing the narrative. So, this weekend I'm gonna be there.
Yes.
I'm excited. It's funny because I was thinking about the event, and I said, I like going to events. There's something about getting ready for events that I like.
Okay.
Why? What was your purpose behind starting the Winter Project?
Yes. So, March 2011, I was in the city at a women's retreat kind of for the day at a seminary. And it was a beautiful day. You know, sometimes when you have beautiful days and how they end up, it's kind of like, whoa, what happened to that beautiful day? So I got home, and my son Jason, he's 24 now. He had just won the 100-meter race in a competition and a 200-meter race. He called me on the phone and said, I just won. Can we go to Cold Stones for a celebration?
Oh, Cold Stone.
Right.
Uh-huh.
He called my husband afterwards, and not 15 minutes later, he runs into the house. He was attacked by 5 youth from behind. They hit him with a brick and broke one side of his jaw, and it reverberated and fractured the other side. And outside of 15 minutes, he lost his memory, so he had a concussion. And, you know, we got him to the hospital. He got transferred to Cohen's Children's Hospital for surgery. And while he was in surgery, I was praying because, you know, mothers pray, preachers pray, but I was praying. And there had been so much going on in our community. Lately, I said, our boys are wanted. They're wanted by the police, who were, there's one police officer at that time that was just doing some really foul things to the youth in the area.
Okay.
Bullhorned, you know,
What
dispersed.
area is this?
Valley Stream.
Okay.
Yeah. So there had been that, and then there have been other attacks. One of the kids, actually 2 kids from Central High School, my son went to South, they got stuck up with a gun and mugged around the same time, literally within the same month.
Gotcha.
And so I said, these kids are wanted, and literally saw the post office poster in my mind. And the God said, you're going to tell them that they're wanted for different reasons. So I wrote down the acronym WANTED and just spelled out worthy, accountable, named, thankful, empowered, and determined. And so literally about less than 2 months after he was released from the hospital, we started the Wanted Project with 15 young men.
How is your son?
He is doing really well. He actually ended up going, he had a chance to go on scholarship to college for basketball or track. He chose track, went to the University of Cincinnati, graduated.
Nice.
He's now an HR professional
Nice.
and assistant basketball coach at a high
Nice. So
school.
there was no long-term effects
No,
from
you
it.
know,
Thank God.
yeah, thank God.
Thank God. Because you hear about kids getting jumped and dying.
Oh yeah,
And they want to
yeah,
retaliate after that.
Or that too.
right.
Or that too.
Yeah. So he, you know, physically he's fine. He always had hip flexor problems, right?
Okay.
So we took him to the chiropractor, and it was amazing because the chiropractor said, "So you had something wrong with your jaw?" And we're like, "How do you know that?" And he stuck his finger in his jaw, and he said, "Lift your leg." And he couldn't lift his leg off the ground.
Wow.
So it was just amazing that. So it affected him, but not, psychologically he's fine. He's going on with life. He's helping with the Wanted Project now.
Yeah, so everything's all connected.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
It really is. And so, for someone like you to be passionate enough to start something like this, were there also other experiences that you had in the past that made you have a sentiment towards our young people?
Well, I have 2 boys, right?
Okay.
So I also have a daughter. I have always worked with young women.
Okay.
And so it was foreign to me, even with my 2 sons, that I would be working with just boys.
Gotcha.
It's just foreign. It's still, to this day, it's like, okay, God. But I also, through my coaching business, work with women. And I work, of course, women have children. So for me, it's all connected.
Gotcha.
And I've never missed an opportunity to do something about a tragedy. Like, that's my way of healing. If I sit back and I don't do anything about it, then I feel like I'm just giving into, the bad part of life.
Right.
And so God teaches us things, and God gives us ideas, and you got to be obedient right away.
Yes.
And so I was. My husband got on board, and he always says I wasn't as cool as my wife. He wanted to find the boys.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this program has been flourishing. We're in Africa now as
Nice.
well, and we're trying to expand more in the United States.
Nice. So talk to me about your ministry, your Reverend. When did you get into ministry?
I got into if you ask my mother, she will say that I was called from a child.
Okay.
And I admit
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I do.
Why?
admit
You was
that.
you was always kind of deep and preachy.
Always deep, always reading.
And a old soul at a
Old
young
soul, always wanting to know what God wanted for my life. I remember my sister and I was about 8 or 9, and we were having these deep conversations about God. So always called, but really influenced by, when I was 13, by a preacher who was a woman. She's a black woman, and she was married. And I never saw that. I always, I grew up in the United Methodist Church. Always had white male preachers. So to have this woman come in,
Yeah, somebody that looks like
and I'm
you.
like, she looks like me, and she's married, because you have the thing, oh, you're a preacher, you can't be married. You have the mind about priests and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is strange. But it took me to answer the call.
That was your moment. That was your moment where you
Not
said.
really. In retrospect, it was.
In retro.
Oh,
yeah. Well, hindsight is always.
Hindsight, absolutely. But she was very influential. Looking back, she was very influential in allowing me to see who I could be.
So talk to me about your moment. When was your moment where you said, "I'm gonna preach"? And I don't
Yeah.
see, but not only that am I gonna do it, because there's a lot of things that we think we can do, but we don't know if we're good at. So
Right.
no, I mean,
That's
true.
you know, listen,
Yeah.
listen.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the church. My mother was a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who they think they can preach, but they can't. No. And I'm not trying to. And I'm not saying God's not in their life.
Right.
I'm not saying that they don't help people.
That's right. That's right.
But
right.
being able to articulate and transfer your message to whether it's 10 people or 10,000 is a gift and it's an art.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And not everybody has it. Now there's some people that got it but ain't walking the walk, but they still are able
To
do it. You know, like MCs.
a good word.
You know, mic controller, move the crowd. You gotta be able to. So
That's funny.
well listen, Trump is very articulate.
Yeah.
He's one of the most full of SHIT people you will ever meet.
Yes.
He always lies, but he beat Hillary because he knows how to rock the crowd.
Yeah,
That
he makes
is
people want to listen to him.
That is so true.
I mean, I'll even listen knowing, yo, he's so full, but, right?
We're all much more into politics, like CNN, MSNBC is on every single night
Right.
because of Trump, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. He knows how to
Yeah, so
how to do that.
to be a pastor is one who's conveying God's message,
Yes.
right? When did you know I got it? Like I had the it. When was your moment?
Have the it. I think it's probably when I was in my training in seminary. I started off as AME in the AME church, and we had to go
Gotcha.
to Institute as well. I'm Presbyterian now, but I believe it was in my training. It's nothing like positive feedback, right?
Nothing.
Okay, it's nothing like seeing your words and people coming back to you and saying, "Whoa, you just really did it."
Yeah.
Right. So I think for me it was helpful, and it was good to have that, because now I'm in a Presbyterian church and we're working our way up, right, in praise and worship. But it started off very different. So I had to have it in my mind that I was okay because they were very quiet,
Gotcha.
right? So I
So
was
it's not
like,
a lot of
okay, Lord.
go sister, teach it.
Right.
Teach it.
Oh, none of
Woo,
that.
sister. You're not getting all of that.
That's right.
You
No.
just, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't getting all that. Now, no, we're starting to, it's been 10 years. So
Gotcha.
my husband and I have been there. My husband sings and he does praise and worship. So
Okay.
we're really
Okay.
getting there. But thank God for before that.
Okay.
So,
I'm sure there was more inspiration from all the fellowships, the people that was there as well. It
Yeah.
inspired you, of course, to feel confident to
Absolutely.
be able to speak and speak the word of God as well.
absolutely. Like I said, in the AME church, I had lots of mentors there.
Okay.
And it's funny. I learn best by observing what to do and what not to do. So I shouldn't say good, I've had positive mentors who taught me what to do, and then I've had mentors who weren't good mentors, let's put it that way.
Wow.
And so you learn, though. You have to learn from the good and the bad, what to
Yeah.
do and what not to do.
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot
They were good.
by observing.
They were good.
They were good,
They were good
to teach
too.
me what not to do.
Yeah, they were good too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know that saying that that we used to say on the block growing up, it's all good. It really is all good,
Yes, it is.
right? Because it all works. It all leads me to God.
That's
So whatever leads me to God is good.
That's right.
Did you ever have any moments throughout your ministry, throughout your walk, where you begin to maybe doubt or say,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could continue doing this. Give me,
Man, you
Give-
mean this week?
well, hey. So give me a real intangible moment where, you were like, I just don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Where you maybe wanted to give up.
Well, listen, when you're pastoring a church and you go from September to May, June, and you have all the holidays and you're there, you're pouring into people. Literally by May, June, every year, I start feeling like, okay, it's time to regroup. Or else I could give it up. There's a lot of pressures on ministers to be available all the time, even though that's really not our job. To teach, preach, but people have the expectations that you are supposed to be there for absolutely everything that happens to them in their lives,
Yes.
right? So it can be 3:00 in the morning. My toe hurts, right?
Yeah.
And of course not like that, but you understand what I'm saying.
I get it.
So by May, June, and your mother was a preacher, you
Yep.
probably get it personally.
Yep.
So May, June, and I know I'm gonna have some vacation time. I always say I'm going back to school in the summer because I go back. I'm able to listen to God because my time is just me and God's time, and then and I learn about boundaries again. Every single summer for the last 10 years.
Setting
I go
healthy
back to
boundaries.
school, and in the summer I get my boundaries back because I start losing them probably about
Yes.
April. After
Yes.
Easter,
Yes.
they're all shot.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I go to school. I go to Henry McLeod. He has
Okay.
all these books on boundaries for leaders, boundaries for this and that. And I go back to school. I read over again. And it's like I'm learning it all over again. Because we want to give.
Yeah.
We want to give. We want to be there for people, even if it's unhealthy for us.
Do you give some time to the extent when you find that you're not taking care of yourself?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
How do you know?
Lack of sleep at night because your head is you're in your head worrying about so and so, and oh, I didn't do this. A lot of it is, oh, I forgot to call this person, and they're in need. Oh, I forgot to call. So it's a lot of like, oh, kicking yourself, like, oh, I didn't do that. Or even with preaching, I talk to other preachers about this. My husband knows when I wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh, he knows that it was something that I could have done better when I was preaching. And it literally comes out from my gut. It's like, oh, he's like, it's okay. It's over. You do it next time. I'm like, okay. So there's always that. And when you're not taking care of yourself, your health fails.
Yeah.
Sinusitis turns into bronchitis, turns into asthma. All that is because we're not taking care of ourselves. So, got to pull back.
When I knew that you would come in, and I knew that you was a reverend, and I've been around a lot of pastors and bishops, and I watched my mom, I watched my godfather and different people in my life, my sister, even, some of the elders in the church who are like almost at the levels of the pastors. Well, I don't even like to say levels, but people expect so much of them.
Yep.
I mean, look, don't not show up at the hospital
Oh yeah,
for Sister So and So.
Yeah.
that's right.
Forget the fact that this is you and your husband's anniversary weekend,
Yeah.
or your son has his first football game at Penn State. Forget that. Sister Ernestine was in the hospital for high blood pressure, and
yeah.
you didn't come.
It's true. You're so right.
Or brother so and so slapped his wife, or so and so got evicted, and you. I mean, seriously, Jeff. And so what begins to happen is, I've watched how people begin to claim people in leadership positions as if they belong to them,
Absolutely.
right? And I think my mother, she made a transition when she was 79. I think my mother could have had healthier years, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about. my mother's identity, and I want to be careful because my mother was like, she was so wonderful. She did, you know, and
It's
I
wrapped
think
up.
there's a area, there's this gray area in between the black and white of like, you know, it's my life and then I'm doing God's will, and then it's like this gray area there of like, I might think that all that I'm doing for people is God's will for me, but it might not necessarily be, because what's happening is I'm suffering as a result of it. My mother never remarried after my father passed. It's like people just put their claws in her. Like, I got sister Turnage all the time now.
Yeah.
And her identity became what she gave to others.
That makes sense.
And I used to tell her, Mom, all that you do for other people, that's not you at your essence.
That's right.
When the last time you got a manicure, pedicure, did this, did that, you know, just went away and didn't answer your phone. So we can, it's very, very, and I'm in leadership positions in business and in my life, and I gotta really, really make sure, Rev, that I don't lose touch with Malik.
That's right. Absolutely.
Because what if I can't preach? What if something happens to my throat and I
That's
can't preach?
right.
Then who am I still?
Right.
What if the church goes under? I mean, there's people who the church don't work out no more. There's not enough members coming.
That's right.
There's preachers from Harlem that's lost their congregation because of gentrification. Who are you now? No, successful brothers that was making money.
That's right.
That it ain't enough people in the church no more. So who are you now? Without that y'all had to close up shop, or some people bought the building.
You're
So-
right.
so
Boundary.
Who are you without necessarily being a minister? Who are you?
Yeah, I work on that 24/7. So, speaking educationally, I have a master's degree in counseling.
Right.
So when I was in seminary, and I actually became dean of students at Union Theological Seminary.
Right.
And when I was leaving there to pastor a church, I also started doing my coaching business.
Gotcha.
So I am a coach who keeps the coaching stuff usually separately from the church,
Okay.
because I'm a preacher, but I'm also really good listener and a really good person to come to when you need to get to your next level, whatever that is. And so some of my clients have been non-Christians. And so
Okay.
my whole life is not the church.
Okay.
My whole life is God.
Gotcha.
But my whole life is not the church.
Gotcha.
And so they tell ministers all the time, well, the congregations try to tell you who you're supposed to be, right? But as a minister, I'm supposed to preach, teach, lead people to God.
Right.
I do some pastoral care and counseling, of course, because
Okay.
that's what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
But I'm supposed to lead people to a certain place where they will open up their own Bibles and get their own answers. I am not the answer for them.
Boom.
God is the answer.
Right.
What
Right.
I've also found out is when people make you their pastor, their preacher, they put you on that pedestal. And so when it comes to your life, you think I'm up here. And no matter how many times you say, I'm a person too, I'm a mother, I get it, I'm a wife, I get it, they're still like, oh no, Reverend Jones. So that will kill you if you buy into it.
If you buy in.
Kill you. It will kill
Because
you.
if they see you in the parking lot of Stop and Shop, and you tell your husband, well, you know what? You put the groceries in.
That's right.
And you go sit down, and he's standing there. Well, I'll put the groceries in, and then you look over, and his sister, Sister Brown, looking like, you know what? Me and my husband are human.
Right.
Don't
Absolutely.
do that to us.
Right. Please don't.
Don't.
Please don't.
I'm not gonna mention his name. And he has a big congregation, very well known.
Mm-hmm.
He's always says, Malik, I'm not gonna let my congregation kill me.
Amen. Amen.
Don't kill me with that. Don't kill me. You know what? God knows I need this more. That's why He made me the pastor.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
He said, because I'm out there.
Yeah.
So He knows in order for me to stay rooted, I gotta be doing this.
Yeah.
And you learn, I've always learned, if you don't preach to yourself first, nobody else is going to get it. So literally every time I preach a sermon, and I go through the week preaching it and getting ready for it and studying the word, it has to have an impact on me first before I know it's going to reach anybody else.
I've heard that.
You got to live it.
The
And
message
sometimes
is
it's
really
hard.
Right.
I think the message is for them.
Mm-hmm.
The message is for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard many
I never
messages.
really thought. So you mean to tell me you have to study before? Because
yeah.
I thought it just was organic.
Oh.
When you see a reverend, because it seems so organic and real. Sometimes you
I guess
talk
part
about,
of it is.
you talk about like even personal things that happen in just everybody's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes like you just figure like, how did they know that?
It's organic. So first you gotta know the text, you gotta know the Bible, you gotta figure out what was happening at that time period, so you have the background. And then, the Holy Spirit starts working on you, right? How can I relate to this? How did I do this wrong? Or how did I do it right? And so the whole sermon kind of builds throughout the week that way.
Interesting.
And then you're able to deliver it, right, with some authenticity,
Right.
because you've lived it. So the problem is when preachers go out, right, they go to preach and they haven't lived it. And you can kind of tell that they haven't lived it.
Because they start running out of stuff.
Stop running out. But I never saw. Have you ever saw that?
Yeah.
Like run out of.
Have I ever saw it?
I mean,
Have I ever saw it?
How-
Listen, brother.
can people tell?
Brother, I was in church Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. If my mother was passing, first of all, Lighthouse was on New Lights Avenue by Van Sicklen. If my mother was passing the church and saw the construction guys in the church doing sheetrock, she would stop. You guys need a sandwich or something, and be in there ministering them for an hour and a half. We just passing church. Have I heard, brother? I've heard all kinds of stuff. I've seen people on the news getting handcuffed during the week that was just speaking on a Sunday and had us there for 4 hours. Yes. 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 And let me tell you something. And none of that has, because I understand. So I don't look at the church like because a couple people mess up. We're all fallible.
Right.
I've seen people make mistakes and bounce back from it too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's part of the testimony. I've seen people fall hard and come back from it.
Yes.
Yes. So you've done a lot of wonderful things. I'm sitting here and I'm reading and I'm gonna say, wow, the sister's very, she's very accomplished, and she's accomplished some things in her life by the grace of God. What would you say is your, I don't want to say your biggest accomplishment because God did it through you, but what was one of your top highlight moments in ministry?
There's so many, but I'll go to the last one. So I was referred to go to South Sudan last May by a woman who, she's a preacher, she's a minister, who literally just died of a heart attack. Getting off the plane, she was coming from Pakistan. That's to tell you how devastating ministry can be if if you're stressed, you're not taking care of yourself. But she prayed. She says, I've been praying over who to send to South Sudan because she was going to Uganda on an ecumenical tour.
Mm-hmm.
So she convinced me to go to South Sudan, which, as you know, is at war. It took 30 hours from door to door to get there and to get back. 30 hours, and I only stayed for 5 days. And I was a part of a 6-person delegation to actually listen to the stories of these women and children, mostly clergy, some bishops, but it was mostly to listen to the women and children who are suffering because of the war that is going on in South Sudan, and the terrible stories that came out of that visit. I'm still trying to figure out, what is happening there. I mean, children being raped, being stolen by the government and the military, and boys and girls being raped and held as sex slaves. And it's just terrible what they're going through. And these are Christians. South Sudan is a Christian nation. They just broke from Sudan, which is a Muslim nation. Yeah. And now the officials there and the Christians are just, it's so hard. It's so hard to explain. They're just really stabbing each other in the back because they want to be on the right side, right, of the food shortage and all of that. So that was my biggest accomplishment, going there by myself.
Wow.
It was at a time in my life where I thought I needed to be shaken up in some kind of way, and then I got that call. Yeah. And I said, "You want me to fly to South Sudan on orange alert?" Yeah. And literally a week before I went to fly out, 10 missionaries, Presbyterian missionaries, were they were word?
Hostage.
Thank you, hostage. Yeah. Were held hostage for like 10 days.
Yeah. And you were going.
And I was going.
Yeah, you want to be shaken up?
Oh yeah, he kept saying, I don't know if you should go. And I kept saying, you know what, I'm going to be okay because this is God ordained. So he plenty of times was like, I don't think you should go. But he held out, and it was life-changing. So nice. that I have to say that was one of the.
Wow, that had to be real scary. Like to hear some people was held hostage. That had to be real scary.
Yeah, it was, and also the Father Jim, who was part of South Sudan Council of Churches. He had just been attacked by the military and beat up, and the only reason he wasn't killed is because they knew he was a clergy person. He came in from Rome, so they knew that if he went missing, it would be a really big deal. But us, maybe not so much.
Right. So I was reading in here, and you like yoga.
I like yoga. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Give me, so getting close to the end of the interviews, there's a series of questions that I like to ask.
Okay.
What would be, well, we're going to start with some of the other ones. You're in an island.
I'm what?
You're on an island.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Black Genie comes out.
Okay.
And he goes, Rev, you get one of each one of these things I'm about to offer you. Okay?
Just one out of the...
You get one.
Okay.
So, when it comes to meal, what would your one meal be? You got to eat this every day. You're on this island. You're not leaving the island. And this genie's awarding you the meal. What would that one meal be?
I'm by myself on the island?
You by yourself.
Okay. So something really
Like
hard.
you like Tom Hanks, you know. and what's the name?
Oh God, that's so hard.
What would your one meal? You could pick one meal.
Okay, if I'm by myself, it's gonna be something really bad for me. I don't care if I live, for a long time by myself. That's boring. So
Unhealthy stuff.
yeah.
You ain't worried about a six pack then, right?
No, right, none of that. So
Okay, so your one meal.
oh man, I want to say shrimp, but yeah, shrimp. I like shrimp.
Shrimp.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like shrimp.
Beverage.
Probably Kool-Aid, like church punch Kool-Aid.
Wow.
The stuff that I stay away from right now.
What
That's
flavor?
what I would want.
What flavor?
I want to say purple. Grape.
Grape?
Yes.
Okay. One dessert.
Strawberry shortcake.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
I know I liked you for a reason, man.
Actually, that was the first thing that I was going to say when you asked me that strawberry shortcake. Love it.
Strawberry shortcake.
But it has to be with the biscuits that you grew up on, biscuits that your grandma. Yeah.
Gotcha, not with this stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Okay. One song.
One song I love. This is. Have you heard of Sona Jabarte? She's an African artist, and she plays the kora, which is an instrument that only those group of griots of Africans play it. They're skilled at it. I love Sona Jabarte, so it would be her song from the Motherland soundtrack. It's beautiful. I play it every day.
What would your 3 keys to ministry be?
I have to say 3 keys for women in the ministry because that is who I work with most. I mentor students. I would say have strong boundaries or be able to pick them up when you can. You have to have strong boundaries. I would say don't let anyone tell you that you spend too much time in prayer, right? Because ministers are supposed to pray and ministers are supposed to read. So that would be my 3rd thing. And we don't get a lot of time to do that because the people want us to do other things. Our job is to preach, teach, read, and pray.
Okay.
And that's 4 things, but yeah, definitely. I guess I could name one more thing. Don't believe your own hype. You're a person. You're a sinner, quote unquote, just like everybody else. Don't believe your own hype. Because you can get in there and you can believe that you're the next thing best to God. And you will treat people like that. And you hurt people. And you hurt yourself. And you hurt your family when that happens.
If you had one sentence to describe your life, your journey with God, what would that one sentence be?
My journey with God has been beautiful. I hate to say that because it sounds cliche, but even with the ups and the downs, I have grown stronger, wiser, more faithful. It has been a beautiful journey. And I've had some bad stuff happen. Bad stuff happened to my family, but it has been a beautiful, when I tell you, a beautiful journey. I'm all in for God. All in.
One word to describe your marriage.
Phenomenal.
Give me
Love
one.
my husband.
Okay.
I ain't leave the room.
Love my husband.
One word to describe the church.
In need of healing. In need of healing. Everywhere. The church needs to be healed.
Give me one word to describe Reverend Jones.
Can I give you 3?
No.
Okay.
You gotta pick one word.
Courageous.
Mm.
Courageous. I am courageous. Yes. Want me to explain it?
Wow.
Courageous.
Okay, so last question
Mm-hmm.
before we close. If you were to leave here tonight and make your transition to God and to the ancestors, what would you want to be remembered as? How would you want to be remembered?
So I'm going to get the 3 in anyway. Thank you. As a caring, compassionate, and a courageous sister.
Wow.
That's it.
Listen, it's been another great episode of Conversations with Malik.
Sir.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. It really has.
It has been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, the Wanted Project, check them out. They got an event coming up this Saturday. Be there, be square. Help our youth, help somebody. And thanks to the co-host with the most, Jeff Jones.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for sharing for this and having her here. And we end the show like we always do. Brother Malik loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.
Peace.
That was nice.
Thank you.